Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. Warming up. Yeah, I think our lighting's a bit better. It's a wider spread of bright light.
Of course, we'll be wearing completely different color shirts tomorrow, and then Thursday
We'll
they will
struggle
have
to
to
find
reset.
that
Yeah,
spot again. But we're
that's how it
getting there.
goes.
Just manually resharing the link.
I kind of wish we had prepared, like, I don't know, Venn diagrams in terms of like what ingredients are common across these
Well, we'll
things.
probably find one online and we can share that.
Maybe.
Okay, I found one possible one.
Okay.
A full Venn diagram, but
Oh, that,
it looks nice.
it's not what I want, but I get
There's
it.
this one.
So that's a little better. I'm still tweeting. The complex title.
I should reshare. There. Yay, Baduy Bread Chat now appears as suggestion.
Progress.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna ask. Like, you know who this person is?
No, but I think it was from the recent shows, so in-approve ka nila.
Okay.
Might be one of the academy.
Possible.
Yeah, that's with my fingers typing all the wrong letters.
Beep blurp.
Yeah.
Blurp, blurp.
And then let me share with you
I think it's
the
that.
link.
Isn't that from that one Cosmo article?
Yeah, I think so. But I'm not sure if you have it, so there. There's the image. So you can just grab it.
Oh, interesting. He didn't make it. It's not part. I thought it would be part of the article. Oh no, it's here. It's here.
Yeah, it's referenced.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Looking at this though, I have not. I don't think I've had a lot of Mechado.
mhm.
Oh my god! And then yeah, Afritada surprises me that it looks very simple.
It's a very bare dish.
Bear. Oh, North Philippines has their own version. Of course they would, right? Because they're all about food. And then they say what cubes to add.
Mhm. Hey, Mitch. So,
Oh, Mechado's beef.
timers.
Yeah, this is like, was this when I was when I would do nilaga and then I'd add tomato sauce, and then you'd be like, it's like Mechado.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I don't know. It's just the thing we do, people. It's the thing we do.
All right. I guess we might as well get started.
Yeah. Okay. Let me
Hit that intro.
I'm gonna hit it. Whoosh. Made it worse. Okay, one moment.
Oh yeah! Really right!
Hello, everyone. This is Toby.
Hello, everyone.
I didn't
This
know
is
it
Rocky.
I was waiting for you to give me. And if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride. A little space on the internet. This is not fair. Where we talk about anything we want.
It's completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. It's a Tuesday, so it's a food episode, and we're tackling that big question.
Is it really a big question? It is a question, I guess. But yeah, today we're talking about the differences between Menudo, Afritada, Kaldereta, and Mechado, which was a requested topic by Mitch because, yeah, she threw a bunch of these food ones. And one thing we can stress about all of these dishes is that none of them are keto.
Mhm.
And I have not eaten any of them for years, literally for years. I feel a little sad about that.
Just extending our thanks for the new flag we received, and it's now part of our background. As you can see, we have our pride flag, and now we have our what's the official word for it?
I guess you would say it's a bisexual flag.
Yeah, I guess that's the more official
Oh
term.
no, do the pansexuals have a flag too? Should we
And
consider
that, well, it might still be that for all we know. That's why I'm not sure.
Okay, but yeah,
'Cause
this
that has three colors. Yeah, see, it's
Yes.
blue, purple, and I guess
Indigo?
pink. I'm not sure.
I don't think that's pink.
Illiterate.
Are you? You're the designer.
Okay, you're the one who keeps arguing that this is not green.
No, I say it's aqua. It's a greenish.
It's blue.
It's not. You're the one who argues it's not green. You just said it's blue.
But yeah, thanks for the flag. Thanks goes to
Side B.
I keep thinking B side for some annoying reason.
You want to go rockin'?
I know. I'm so sorry. But
Do we-
side
do
side
we-
B Philippines.
Do we super miss our life outside of this unit?
Yes.
You know? Oh my
Side B
God.
Philippines. Thank you for the flag. It's very very much appreciated.
It's huge. It's a blanket. It's a beach towel. Okay.
And yes, so we're talking about four different dishes that, on first glance, may seem the same to the untrained eye, especially since they're all reddish in color.
Well, they all tend to use at least tomato sauce and sometimes tomato paste, depending on who you ask. So
Mhm.
that's one thing. So they're all tomato sauce based. I guess you could call them stews. Do you call them stews? What do you call them?
So for viewers who aren't familiar with the dishes, there are four specific dishes in Filipino cuisine that we have all grown up with. And these four dishes are known as afritada, mechado, menudo, and caldereta. And if you ask, um, if you ask people, they tend to have very prominent feelings about one of the four at least,
Really?
because it would be a dish that they used to always get at home.
Oh, okay.
It would be a dish that they really liked having. It could be a dish they hated so much because of certain ingredients.
Okay.
Or it could be a dish where they're so excited, but then they realize it's not what they were expecting.
Okay.
So
Okay.
with all
That's
these, we realize that the experience boils down to the big question of how can you tell if something is afritada, mechado, menudo, or caldereta. And to try to discuss it in tonight's episode, we are rushing our research.
I'm just like trying to pull up definitions of
Mhm.
each. I also wanted to answer the question for myself. It's like, are they all stews? And I guess sort of some are, I don't know. I don't know how
Ha!
to be technical about
Mitch
it.
mentions kulang na lang sweet and sour fish. Officially, you could say that is true. Kasi the ingredients would still kind of hit certain spots.
Although sweet and sour fish isn't so much like a stew because normally you cook the fish and then you add the sauce on top after,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then I feel like it's not quite in this same family of like
Because the fish would disintegrate if you cooked it the same way.
exactly. So yeah, so we do it this way. Okay, so let's go around the wheel, and then I guess we'll talk about each, and then we'll see what distinguishes each, and we will start with the
Yeah.
letter.
So the
Oh,
funny thing
okay.
is to describe each dish we'll end up differentiating them already.
Yes.
So I think
which helps.
in terms of structure, to tackle each dish, we are breaking it down to 4 core areas.
Okay.
You have whatever the meat is,
The protein, sure.
whatever the protein. That's a better way to use it. Whatever the protein is, what the sauce is composed of,
Okay.
what vegetables are part of the dish,
Okay.
and the last being what other things are added that make it interesting, special, or oh my god, this is not what I wanted, depending on who you ask.
No,
Because
scary.
you've had people who react that way, right?
That is true. That is true. There are people, again, people have very strong feelings about
Mhm.
this. Okay. So, do you have a favorite of the 4?
Um,
Or do you just have one that most commonly appeared in your household?
well, having to choose, I'll admit to having a sweet spot for Caldereta.
Okay.
Because I always like the richness of the flavors.
Okay.
But deep down, I always wished there was an afritada that was a caldereta.
What do you mean? Afritada,
A
but
chicken-based caldereta. As weird as that sounds.
I feel like that's approaching a curry.
I know, but that's the thing, see? So that's the funny thing, see? When you ask people in the Philippines about these 4 dishes, they will either have something they really like or something like, I don't like it when they serve this because I was hoping it was this. Because they all look the same from afar.
Hmm.
You?
I guess the one I have the strongest affinity for is afritada, and
Mhm.
and Mitch points out it was very common because chicken,
Yes.
which is true. But it's also because and there's a bit of a funny story for afritada, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I'll
Mhm.
mention it again. When I was a kid,
Hey, Jay.
and then one of the early what's this? One of the early, I guess post for context, there was about 2 years in our life that we were in Los Angeles,
Mhm.
and then when we came home, to be fair, I was only like what, still eligible for kinder. I was still very young, but then um, I grew up a little westernized, and in that sense, was not familiar with many things. So we went to the food court one time, and then mom's like, "What do you want for lunch?" And then like, "Let's try something new."
Mhm.
And then she went to Cindy's
Okay.
at the food court. Cindy's, guys, Cindy's. But she got a fritada,
Mhm.
and we liked it. But because of that, for the longest time, we called a fritada new lunch. So
Because it was the new lunch.
because it was the new lunch that we tried that day, and so whenever like, what do you want to eat? Can we have new lunch? And then my mind was blown when I first
Mm.
made a fritada on my own, and like, oh my god, this is freaking simple.
Jay mentions kalderetang manok is a thing. I just tried googling it. You're right, it is a thing. Which then tells me that I was not having phantom memories of having a caldereta that was chicken based.
I think though there are like traditional associations with it, and I guess we're already on the topic of afritada. So
So what
let's
is
go through.
afritada?
Okay,
Traditionally, afritada has goat meat or beef with bones for its protein.
oh wait, I'll excite you. Let's look at the definition of afritada. Wikipedia says it's a Philippine dish consisting of chicken, beef, or pork. So helpful. Braised in tomato sauce with carrots, potatoes, and red and green bell peppers.
Mm.
Served on rice, common everyday Filipino meal. It can also be used to cook seafood, which
Mm-mm.
is funny. The name afritada is derived from the Spanish fritada,
Or fried.
meaning fried,
Yes.
referring to the first step in preparation, which is pan-searing the meat. My mom does this. When she was doing my recent like adobo 101, she sears the meat also
Mhm.
first. I'm like, oh, okay. I thought I'd gisa and then sear, but no, she's like straight to sear. Okay. Anyway,
So some prepare caldereta with.
Wait, we're talking about afritada.
Sorry, afritada.
We're already confused.
Obviously, you know what I like. So afritada, some prepare afritada with peas, and this has been the bane for some people. We're in. Oh, why is there green peas in my afritada? Others love the peas. I found it interesting that if you have afritada, sometimes the peas are the type wherein you could peel off this transparent covering and eat the starchy inside
What?
because the pea kind of has that covering still, that shell that hasn't been cleared out, and then others don't.
Okay, so with afritada, I will most associate it with chicken, and
Mm.
then looking at different different infographics because this is a very memeable subject. It seems that the most traditional afritadas, or at least the most common afritadas, are pork or chicken,
Yes.
which I think, owing to Mitch's point, is that it what's this? It probably connects to um, the commonality, like because there's always the perception, which is actually kind of true, that beef is more expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and so the more it's more likely you're going to be working with chicken or pork.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jay had the thing about the adobo making asado. I don't know. I have no comment on this because I don't know. I still can't make a great adobo, so I'm probably not an expert. And just look at this today. We're looking at all these references for it. So common to others, it involves both the use of most likely tomato sauce and tomato paste for the sauce,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like I think that's a major commonality. Comparing it to the others and some of the infographics we're looking at, um, toyo is not a like a prominent requirement.
Toyo being soy sauce.
Oh, sorry. Yes. But in vegetables, what almost all of them seem to have are very common, which are
Let's
carrots.
compare yet. We haven't talked about the others yet.
I'm just Restream doesn't want us to fight.
So
When
let's
we
continue.
argue, the signal disrupts.
So let's continue first to the other dishes, then we can make comparisons.
Okay, without comparing, then we can highlight the vegetables that are listed. So we already said that there are peas, and
Mhm.
then it is potatoes, carrots, and bell peppers. Potatoes and carrots being the most unketo of things. That is
Mhm.
like beyond the tomato sauce in itself, which is why I can't have it. Okay, so going around the wheel, for me, the next most common that we would probably cook is actually menudo. I don't know about you.
So menudo, would you like to go through the definition you prepared?
Sure. I'm just looking at Wikipedia. Is a band? No, I'm sorry. Then is a braised. Sorry, I'm looking at Mechado. Menudo, which they have to highlight, is stew because apparently there is a Mexican soup, which
Yes.
excites me that this exists, and there is a boy band, so to speak.
Mhm.
But so menudo, wow, also known as
Ginamay.
ginamay, apparently, and it says
Or chopped
Wikipedia.
into which is in Cebuano.
Cebuano, a traditional stew from the Philippines made with pork and sliced liver and tomato sauce with carrots and potatoes. Unlike the Mexican dish of the same name, it does not use tripe or red
Mhm.
chili sauce. They so again looking at the meat option. This one it seems very clear that it's very pork
Mhm.
focused, right?
And then menudo, Philippine wise, tends to have hot dogs as part of its preparation and the dreaded raisins. Some people prepare menudo with bay leaves. Others, I think, remove it because there's that association of bay leaves with adobo, so they don't like it visible in their menudo.
But I think we were a bay leaf family,
Mhm.
and then I think the main contention, which is like also pointed out by Tristan just now, is that okay, a lot of people have problems with menudo because of the liver, and then it's definitely an acquired taste, especially as a kid. It's like, and they're all chopped very small,
Mhm.
and then it's always the oh yay pork,
I like
oh
liver.
hot dog, ooh liver.
I always like liver because it was like chocolate tofu.
I think you like the notion that you are eating sweetmeats.
I didn't even know the term sweetmeats until much later.
Yes, but you knew it was liver.
Yeah. But I like the idea that it has such a different flavor profile and it wasn't meat, but it was a meaty flavor.
I admit I didn't appreciate it a lot in the when I was younger, but
Mm.
then over time I came to appreciate the whole liver situation.
And then I wasn't a fan of the raisins, although I like eating raisins alone. Whenever they're in a dish, I get weirded out because
When they're in a savory
yeah.
dish. I get that feeling too. I get that feeling. Okay. Oh, Wikipedia. Look at Wikipedia's list for or ingredients. They mention it's garlic, onions, tomato, which is always like that classic like one word when you say when you need panggisa, which is bawang sibuyas kamatis. It's just naming those ingredients
Mitch
quickly.
asks, sweetmeats ang liver. Ano ang ibang sweetmeat?
It's sweetmeat is the Western term for offal.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of things.
Intestines.
So things that are
liver,
yeah,
the heart.
tongue technically are still offal
So sisig
parts.
is very sweetmeat dish.
Yes, yes. Okay. Right. So beyond that, pork liver, although they mention pork or beef,
Mm-mm.
diced potatoes, they really stress raisins right up there. Diced carrots, green bell peppers, soy sauce, vinegar, or calamansi, a souring agent. Oh, interesting. And then
Mhm.
tomato sauce, seasoned with salt and pepper. And then they highlight that it is a very common offering in carinderias
Mhm.
and other
Because it
budget-friendly
also
meals.
lasts long,
Yes.
similar to adobo.
And the menudo cut at at the meat shop is a little cheaper because of course it's like very fatty,
Mm-mm.
and then you can cut it small enough from other pieces, so if you have leftover dregs of other things, then you can turn it into menudo meat.
I really suspect that the presence of raisins is what allows menudo to last longer because it adds a sudden dose of sugar to the whole dish
Maybe.
compared to other dishes.
And I think there was always that weird, like, it makes it a little fancier for some reason. Oh, look, we put raisins in it. Yeah, I also had mixed feelings about the raisins, but I'd still eat them. Um,
So
not,
moving
not
on
terrible.
from
Okay.
menudo, we then go to the other M dish, which is mechado.
This one I barely had growing up. I realized looking at it, like, oh, okay. So mechado is yet another stew. Wikipedia calls it a braised beef dish originating from the Philippines but inspired by the culinary methods of
Mhm.
Spain, where
Promin-
soy sauce and
yes.
calamansi fruits are the key ingredients to the braising liquid. Oh, interesting. Okay. It is derived from the Spanish term meca, meaning wick, due to the way the larded beef resembles a candle. What are these? What are these explanations? The term
Mhm.
was adopted in the Filipino language as mitsa, although the spelling mitsado for the dish is unorthodox and rarely seen.
Mhm.
Okay, which is interesting because yeah, it's a ch.
So this dish prominently states the need for the fats. It needs to melt down the fats and render it in order for the stew to thicken and to
because
be more
it's
interesting.
a braised meat. Yeah.
Like the others before it, it does have bell peppers and carrots and potatoes, which means it is not keto friendly automatically, just like everything else in
That and the
this
tomato
show.
sauce. And then it's like it seems predominantly beef, but of course you can argue that you can make any of these dishes with whatever protein you want. So
So
pork is
mechado
also
for
good.
me always felt like you wanted to cook caldereta, but you didn't have all the ingredients.
But looking at the list though, I guess what did you miss? Tomatoes
And the liver.
and the liver spread because it's almost the same.
Exactly. So there was always that feeling of, yay, caldereta. Oh, it's machado.
What the heck? And then funnily for me, because I was highlighting, like we didn't really have this a lot.
Mhm.
But when my grandma would cook nilaga, the soup, and she would typically use beef, she would also heat up on the side tomato paste and fresh tomatoes into
Mhm.
like a very thick tomato sauce, which we would then add small spoonfuls of to the beef as we eat it,
Mhm.
which when I first tried mechado gave me a similar flavor profile just without the cabbage, So it was just fascinating to me that okay, is this why we didn't have mechado a lot because we ate tomato sauce with our nilaga?
Probably.
Maybe. Okay. Um, anything else notable on the mechado front?
Well, looking at the pictures, it really does make you think of braised beef, the way
It
the
definitely
dish
looks
looks like.
darker, right? And then
Peas makes a common addition to it as well for many people.
Bay leaves are also here too, and depending, I think Wikipedia says so.
And I guess shallots, because it's the small onion.
And then, Wikipedia says patis.
Mm.
Although, like, if you
It's
look,
patis or calamansi. It's
well,
usually one or the other.
if you notice, but the way I cook a lot of things, I tend to put both toyo and patis in almost everything I do, which is just funny. Okay, okay. Um, wow. Wikipedia also says that beef tongue can be similar treated with little or no variation to produce another dish called lingua.
Lengua, ano yan? Lengua mechado.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Mhm.
funny. How is braised different from stew? Braising is a cooking process, but it's technically a stew.
I think stew is the meat is submerged. Braised, I think the meat is parang simmering in the liquid, but not sink.
Let's look very
Not deep
quickly.
inside.
Braising, from the French word braisier, is a combination cooking method that
You
uses
saute
both
first.
wet and dry heat. Typically, the food is first sautéed or seared at a high temperature, then finished in a covered pot at a lower temperature, while sitting in some parenthesis variable amount of liquid, which
Mm.
also may add flavor. Braising of meat is often referred to as pot roasting, though some authors make a distinction between two methods based on whatever additional liquid is added. So there, so that's that. So it's a stewing process. So,
Mhm.
but it's typically it's that whole concept of you seal the meat flavors in,
Yeah.
and then you
Break it down slowly.
break it down. So yeah, in the stew. Okay,
So finally, we're at Kaldereta.
Toby's favorite.
So we can.
Yeah, let's look at the wiki definition, which is interesting because they stress that caldereta is a goat meat stew from the
Mhm.
Philippines, and variations of the dish use beef, chicken, or pork. So,
So-
commonly, the goat meat is stewed with vegetables and liver paste. Vegetables may include tomatoes, potatoes, olives, bell peppers, and hot peppers. Caldereta sometimes includes tomato sauce. Sometimes? What the hell? Okay.
Mhm.
And it's derived from the Spanish word caldera, meaning cauldron. It is similar to meat stews from the Iberian Peninsula and was brought to the Philippines by the Spaniards during their 300-year occupation. Okay.
So this dish tends to, well, at least the ones I've experienced, tend to have a level of heat in them. And then the cheese is quite the interesting surprise in how people sometimes serve this.
Yeah, we were not a cheese family.
I never really noticed the liver spread. The liver spread as a separate ingredient. I always found myself thinking it was because of the meat breaking down and it had that quality. So it was a bit of a surprise for me to learn,
Surprise,
that,
thickener!
oh, they used liver spread. I thought it was like that's what goat meat's like. So there were times when I had like roasted goat meat, and I'm like, what iba yung lasa?
So have you had caldereta with goat meat?
Yes.
I have not. I don't think I have.
It helps that years back my dad did have a farm down south, so we would be roughing it and having a lot of local dishes prepared the traditional ways, and those were fun. And then there would be those fiestas where we get to eat all this.
And then I think it stands out that this dish is definitely the spiciest
The
of
heat,
the four. Even if it's a mild spicy, depending on how you prepare it or how you're used to preparing it. And I think that was also like my minor turn off or like surprise because as a kid I did not like spicy food, and so the heat in caldereta was always a little surprising to me. Wasn't totally against it, but it was very surprising. And then, oh look, some even say that it also uses peas. What the heck?
Yeah, peas is the other variation of raisins in the sense of it makes the dish look more.
Oh my god!
More
And this
expensive.
chart even says that caldereta can have raisins
Maybe we should share it.
and hot dog. Oh, I don't know if I agree.
Yeah, Menudo is infamous for the hot dogs. Kaldereta sometimes uses hot dogs as an additional meat because goat meat can be expensive. Well, not expensive, but harder to find.
Yeah, I think it's not less
More
expensive
challenging.
and just a bit more challenging
Yeah.
to sort. Okay, so there's this weird chart.
Menu.
I'll have to let me take the caption out. So although I feel like there's a oversimplification because then it's like tomato sauce, any meat for
Mm.
afritada. Mechado is tomato
Well,
sauce.
any meat is Philippines. When you're Filipino, they'll practically use any meat
Yeah.
to make any
But
food.
see, but look at this one. It doesn't stress that potatoes and carrots could be everywhere. It only
Mm.
mentioned it in Machado, and I can't imagine afritada without the potatoes and the carrots. And then, they try to distinguish where tomato paste goes, which
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with
Because
this.
the tomato paste present makes the sauce thicker. So afritada tends to be a little bit soupier when it comes to the sauce, and then uh, menudo you shouldn't really have a sauce. It's sort of like a coating.
Mm.
Diba? Whereas for mechado and caldereta, you kind of scoop the sauce and yeah.
Oh, I switched. I didn't realize I switched. How did I do that? Wait. Uh, but I want to get just the image, and then oh, that worked. Okay, cool. That worked. All right. So, yeah, this one I was more amused because, well, one, it's a Nor branded one, so that's why it has the cubes stressed on the side. But there's a bit more specific about the some of the ingredients. So, like this one, so it kind of highlights the viands, the meat that goes into each,
Mm-mm.
and and it really stresses though. Funny that caldereta is beef, and and that's the. It's interesting how most people end up with maybe mostly trying beef caldereta in their life and not even
Mhm.
knowing about the goat side of things. Um, but then yeah, when you look at the Nor belief on it is that yes, potatoes and carrots are common across, but it doesn't say bell peppers are common
Yeah.
across. Unlike the other chart that we were looking at earlier,
Because mechado's weird with bell peppers.
that's true though. I see
Caldereta
that point.
pwede pa, but it's kind of off. Kasi parang...
And parang I would only use the red,
Yeah.
right? But there's that because of the heat and stuff. Um, and then so tomato sauce across the board. That raisins wild card in Menudo,
Mm-mm.
and then this one I only stressed soy sauce in Mechado. Although I feel like to some degree, depending on I guess how you prepare,
Mm-mm.
like I think my family leans heavily on soy sauce on many things, and then the cheese and the liver spread. Okay.
And it's because of this chart that I can't help but feel that sweet and sour fish is a distant cousin because it still has the tomato sauce.
Okay.
It still uses vinegar and the usual. It still has the bell peppers. It still has the Nor seasoning and soy sauce to help bring in the flavors. It has the protein, which is fish. The main difference is sweet and sour has ginger.
Yeah, and that's really to cut through the fishiness.
Mhm.
No? So Jed mentions you don't need the cubes. I agree though. I've never put. I don't think I've ever really put soup cubes into these stews. I mean, I get it. It can help maybe round out the flavor, but I agree
Yeah, but
that you probably don't need
But
it.
isn't soup cubes just so that you don't need to simmer the dish longer?
Maybe.
Because simmering is what draws out the flavors from the meats into the water. Diba?
Mm-mm.
And that's why really good dishes are like 5 hours simmering in super low heat because it's drawing out all the flavor it can.
Mm-mm.
And stop is you do the same to bones, right? And you're drawing it further out from the bones. So cubes are your shortcut for doing that.
So yeah, and then what else is that? Uh, I don't know. We've always been super like I guess I don't know how I would say purist, but
Mhm.
then like very set in our ways. So
Mhm.
like I have a hard time appreciating a fritada that is not chicken and
Mhm.
caldereta that is not beef. And then I'm sure there are variations, but then like I don't know my at least our family always prepared it a certain way, and then that kind of got boiled in my head,
Mm.
that burned into my head. That's it. That's how you have it.
I know I've always had trust issues when it comes to these red dishes.
Okay.
If I'm not prepped beforehand, I get frustrated. So like if I'm not told kunyari that is afritada and I see the dish and I'm like, oh, is that caldereta? Is that and then I try it and it's not. I don't feel good now because I feel like I got frustrated that it wasn't what I was hoping for. But if I'm told beforehand, oh, there's afritada, okay, afritada, you'll expect afritada. I love eating the tomatoes in these dishes because the tomato really just sucks up the flavors.
Assuming they used fresh tomatoes, because sometimes
Not tomatoes, sorry, potatoes.
Okay,
Potatoes.
okay. Yeah, potatoes, yes. Then potatoes, yes.
And then I'm not angry when green peas shows up. I know some people are like, "Ew,
I've never been overly against peas.
because
I gave peas a chance.
I think people don't like how it's like this chalky, starchy burst when you bite into them. But peas are like the boba of the past.
It does have a like a mealy texture over time.
Yeah.
I guess I can get that challenge. Then the liver spread, I wasn't always aware, and then it was only when I started living on my own. Okay, to be fair, because I didn't exactly learn how to cook
Mm-mm.
when I was still with family, so it was only living on my own that there's the whole principle of like, oh my gosh, you must use Reno liver
Mm.
spread for cooking specifically,
Which turned
and not the others.
Which turned out to not have FDA approval all these years.
Weird. I don't know how that goes. Permits are strange. Um, but yeah. So that's the only time. Because for me, the only time I would only think of liver spread as a sandwich thing. But to be fair, it was the Red Devil one, which is kind of pricey because it's the imported one. So thanks, Grandma. Okay. But yeah, I came to appreciate it, and then although I've slowed down on stocking liver spread because while meaty and generally like keto compliant, but the net carbs are still a little higher than I'd like, and then it helps to diffuse them in a sauce so that I feel less guilty, but I don't um, overly stress over it. One thing that does amuse me is that especially when you think about the Filipino diaspora market where
Mhm.
you have like whether mamacita or whatnot having all these mixes
Yes.
for making afritada, menudo, mechado. And we are always looking at it and like, really, what goes into this mix that makes it so distinct when when cooking them is not that complicated. And I appreciate that about a lot of these dishes. I
Mhm.
think the beef ones will always be the more difficult ones because of course beef is beef and that's a hard protein to work.
Mhm.
But in terms of preparation, it's not that bad. And then you just sometimes get lost in the middle of like what dish am I preparing again because so many of the prep steps are the same and you're chopping the same ingredients and then it's only when you're putting it together wait today's menudo so it's more this or today's afritada and it's more this
So
bay
Jed,
leaf no bay leaf
so
okay.
Jed mentions basta have sile, whichever dish is, about 3 pieces. I presume these are the small chilies and not the large banana sile.
Mm-mm. But then technically isn't caldereta only the predominantly spicy one because
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with spicy the others being spicy.
And I know I had a friend once who was cooking caldereta and used chili flakes.
Mm.
And that was it was an interesting heat compared to the usual one.
The adobo my mom made, she adds chili flakes now. I was
Mhm.
like, what the hell happened to you? It's like, why is your food so much spicier than it used to be? um, Jed stresses he doesn't like peas because he feels like they don't go with the slurpy, juicy feel of the dish. Oh. But then what about all the other vegetables? It's like, they're, well, to be fair, you could mash the carrots and the potatoes down.
Yeah, they break down the peas don't. The peas are like, I'm a pea. Because they have that shell. And that shell makes them water resistant to some extent.
You have had a deeper relationship with peas than I have anticipated.
Yeah, because I try to peel them with my tongue and deshell them and spit out the coverings still intact. What?
I see.
It's like butong pakwan just in round shapes.
Okay. Okay.
Mitch mentions caldereta with patis. Jed mentions chili flakes on everything. Yes, until you hit a certain age.
Yeah, I know. I was like, I wasn't a super. Growing up, I wasn't a super big fan of spicy, and then in high school,
Mhm.
high school and college, then like, ooh, the spicy is everything. And then in recent years, it's like, okay, we can slow down the spice.
So given this, I now find myself wondering, um, what or how far have people tried to explore the dishes? For example, have people tried making caldereta using isaw, wherein it's like all sweet meats and then liver spread, and you know, have we had menudo that also includes um, bananas and then the I forgot the name of that dish.
Arroz,
The
a
arroz
la
de
cubana.
cubana,
Okay.
those ingredients used to make your menudo dish, because we kind of know that the peas goes well with the ground meat and the bananas and the egg. So what if someone made a menudo version of that? And it always sounds crazy to think of these things, but then we'll remember Aina, who made that really good
Tinola paella.
tinola paella, and
That
that
was
was
good.
amazing.
That was good.
So I can't help but wonder about those.
I might break keto again just to try that
Mhm.
again because and it for a paella it was not super dry, which
Mhm.
was I still don't know how she achieved that. Where it does taste like rice that had fully absorbed tinola,
Mhm.
which was awesome. So yeah, good job for that unique creation. Um, and then I think it was only when I was trying to learn to cook all these things before
Mhm.
that I do appreciate the simplicity of the preparation. A lot of these are really, at most there's going to be the initial saute and then dump everything in
And then let
and
it
then
simmer.
and then yeah, let it simmer. And then like you just have the vegetables at certain intervals, like the potatoes and carrots go first and bell peppers later on. But I get how they've also survived as like staples of
Yeah.
many households because um the principles are very basic or very common, and then you just do it over and over again. I feel the same way about a lot of soups and broths that
Mhm.
um, ingredients can be wildly different, but preparation steps are almost largely the same. And it's always in the end, dump everything in and then let it, let it boil and then let it do its magic. So that's cool though, and I appreciate that aspect of Filipino cooking where it's a lot of home cooking. It's a lot of like uh, it feels functional in that
Mhm.
regard. I'm not trying to belittle it or anything like that, but because of how almost utilitarian a lot of these dishes are,
Mhm.
um, it's why they have survived so long across so many families because you can do it over and over again and um, with a rotating set of ingredients. Hence, like before, like the most important thing would always be you must always have onions, garlic, and tomatoes in
Mhm.
stock because it's like the base, pan seasoning for almost any dish
Mhm.
before it transforms and all that stuff. So that fascinates me.
I would like to see though what duck afritada would be like.
Don't say that with duck right there.
Diba?
He's
That
staring
would
at
be
you.
interesting. Um, or or a ano or a meat substitute version na menudo.
Ooh, I don't
So
know.
that's like a lot of tofu
we
and
we had
and seitan
our
and all
corn
that.
years of like substitute meats,
Mhm.
and your mileage will vary. But yeah, I guess if vegetarian versions of it,
Mm.
which like how do you deal with not even having the liver spread in your caldereta? Like, oh my gosh, Mitch crushes his rabbit season
Or like can there ever be a kildaretang sinigang?
because it's a tomato based thing, but sour,
And then my beef, and then my liver. So it's approaching.
approaching kansi somehow.
Yeah, it is approaching Kansi.
But I don't know. I don't know.
But it's stuff like that we're in. So we know dishes based on what they're usually made using, and how they're prepared. But then as you become innovative or creative with ingredients, you might think you're making something new, but then regionally that just might be a differently named dish.
Mm-mm.
So yeah.
Yeah, Mitch, I don't know how to explain Toby's fusion ideas for food.
Sounds interesting.
Okay.
Or Mechado pasta.
I think that's a bit more feasible because instead of rice, just use noodles for any of these
Or no,
sauces.
pea flavored noodles. So
Wow.
that's the starch. And
Wow. Let's double down on
Then,
peas.
and then your sauce is the Mechado sauce. So, that can work. Pea and potato pasta. Oh, see, there are such
No, it's
existing
mostly
possibilities.
it's mostly sauce.
Mhm. So yeah, that'd be interesting.
Okay. So
And then a part of me always felt that if Menudo dried up and then you squeezed it together, you get embutido.
okay, no.
I think that's just because of the reasons.
I think you're just trying to justify the raisins, but no.
raisins are weird
Because
when it comes to savory
embutido,
dishes.
at the very least, would need giniling. I mean, it's
That's true.
it's practically it's a sausage, but a
That's
different
true.
preparation. So and then mechada, they'd still be in chunks.
Mhm.
So I will argue against that. Okay. So last thoughts on this tomatoes, this red sauce stew world that we have this tackled today at Mitch's request.
Well, I think it's interesting how these four dishes are so much a staple in our experiences, and I always find myself wondering how often these dishes get introduced to friends from overseas, whether it's Filipino families who live abroad, and then visitors come over, and then what's this dish? Oh, it's afritada, and they might be thinking, so it's diluted ketchup. Because
We
their
do use
relationship
ketchup in a lot of our recipes.
the relationship with tomato sauce or tomato paste is very different from us.
Mm.
For them, hey Tom,
Hello
sushi
again.
instead of rice, use mashed potatoes.
It's still a carb, so I guess that works. Okay, then I think the only other for thinking about the foreign introduction thing.
Mhm.
So, uh, so my sister's husband from Singapore, what's this? Of because to be fair, his main exposure to these dishes started with 7-Eleven rice
Mhm.
meals, right? Those microwave meat over rice things, and then naturally of all the ones he tried, the ones he liked the most was probably caldereta. But again, because it's spicy
It
and it's
makes you think of curry.
and it's closer like to a rendang or
Yeah.
in terms of like dishes that you more commonly get in
Mhm.
Singapore from the region. So it's interesting that's what he gravitated to, and he got to try the other stuff, but because the heat of caldereta really won him over. And to be fair, was his in terms of the 7-Eleven rice meals before. Admittedly, I like that one too because it really stood out as like
Prominent flavor.
prominent flavor, good flavor
Mhm.
profile. Because the afritada felt a little bland,
Mhm.
and then the there were some. What are the other ones? I like the like same thing. Like I think chili con carne because it had nice heat also.
Yeah.
Um,
I think when it comes to fast food, heat is a quick way of making the flavor richer.
that's fair.
Because other seasonings, whether it's saltiness, sourness, and the like, it's tricky to get that
You can
balance.
overdo it. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's tricky to get that balance for a mass market.
Yes,
But when it
yes.
comes to heat, as long as it's hot, it'll hit the right spot na. Diba? It might be too hot for some and then dilute it or what. But compared to too salty or too sour, mahirap to find that spot that people will enjoy.
That's an interesting point.
Bulalo.
What about bulalo?
No, I was just thinking. No, now I'm thinking bola bola. Sorry, the bees are getting to me.
The siopaw?
Kalderetang siopaw. Can you imagine it's siopaw, but when you bite, it's kaldereta inside? That's yummy. Okay, we're getting hungry. We should wrap
No,
up this
I'm not.
episode soon.
But I'm largely immune to Toby's food machinations and wild ideas.
We need we need to get out of this pandemic and then we'll hang out with Aina more, and we'd be like, Aina, we bought ingredients. What did you bring? We wanted to make, bulalo siopao.
Wow, you say we when it is really you.
Of course, you'll cheer me on.
I don't know if the word I'm looking for is cheer. I will consider this. Yeah, Mitch is also fascinated by Toby's food imagination. Oh my gosh, yes, Toby likes fusing things or like mix and matching a lot.
Yeah. The flavors are something I can visualize in my head, so that's why I end up mixing ideas quickly. So yeah, so I think that covers our foursome of Menudo, Afritada, Kaldereta, and Mechado. Um, and I think most of those present are Camp No Raisins. Um, but at the same time, we are all secretly soy sauce is always nice to add. Some approves of Kaldereta Siopaw.
It's like one heck of a dumpling. I don't know.
Or bulalo fish balls. Can you imagine? That'll be like such
What?
a hit.
What bulalo fishball?
It's a fish ball, but when you bite it, may laman sa loob.
But it's the rendered fat
Yes.
from the middle of the bulalo
Yes.
bone.
It's like portable.
Heart attack?
Portable shalong bao.
It's a part of
It's our version of a shalong
That's a
bao.
heart attack waiting to happen. Bite-sized delight of richness. But hey, I guess that could be a question for another day.
But I guess for tonight, that's our episode on Menudo, Afritada, Kaldereta, and Mechado.
There's no nice way of putting
Yes.
this episode topic together.
And it's
Okay.
not like we could have called it Makim. The M-A-K-M. But we hope you had fun.
MKA.
Because we had a lot of fun talking about this, and we hope you'll join us again next time.
For questions or suggestions for future episodes, fill up the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. Thanks again to Mitch for suggesting today's topic. And she has it's a series of like
Mhm.
similar foods and distinguishing them. So
And we do invite all of you to please submit more topics. Don't worry if they're weird, if they're stupid, if they're crazy. We will see.
Yeah.
We will see if we can cover them, and we
we
will.
can't promise we're going to do it soon because the queue has like maybe 50, 60 topics these days.
But we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. Okay. And then, of course, you can follow us on Twitter, All Toby No Shade, RG Sunico.
You can also check out our blog, baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
So feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below and argue about, I don't know, which ingredients must or must never be in your version of the 4 dishes. I'd be curious to see what you say. And be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy Pride.